Hey guys, and welcome to my 18-week pregnancy update. So I've got quite a bit of a story to tell you guys, and I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to rehashing this. But I wanted to go ahead and share it with you all and film this video and get it over with and move on, because the thought of it makes me nervous. Actually, my heart is beating pretty fast right now because of it, and yeah, I just want to tell it to you guys and move on and hope that none of you have to go through this when you're pregnant. So first we'll start with symptoms for week 18. I really haven't had a lot, which is good, I guess. The biggest thing that has happened this week as far as symptoms go is round ligament pain. It's definitely been there, so the baby is growing and making a lot of room, which is a good thing. Round ligament pain is not fun. It can be pretty painful, but it's kind of one of those good kind of growing pains. So to me that says that he's moving right along and doing what he's supposed to be doing as far as getting bigger. So I have my next appointment on July 1st. That's a Monday. So my weeks turn over on Sundays, and so I try to see my doctor on Mondays or Fridays. So that will be my next appointment, and I'll actually have an ultrasound at that appointment too, because that'll be when they do the anatomy scan. So he will be even bigger, and we'll get to see a lot more of his little growing body and hopefully get to see more facial features that we didn't get to see at the gender scan at our last appointment. Okay, so on to the story. Okay, so on Tuesday I got home from work, and at some point in the afternoon I laid down to take a nap with Kyle, and we just laid on the couch and slept for probably an hour and a half. So we were napping for a good while. When I got up from the nap, I had kind of a bit of chest pain, like inner pinching pain, and it wouldn't really stay consistent. Like it would hurt for a second or two, and then it'd go away, and then it'd come back, and then it'd go away. So I noticed that, and I tend to get a little hypochondriac about things, but I try to also tell myself to calm down, especially since I've had pain like this before in my life. Not very often. It's not something that I've ever thought, oh, I need to go to a doctor about this, because people have aches and pains in their body at random times in their life. And so I just was chalking that up to what it was, and pretty much just tried to ignore it. So I started cooking dinner, and then Matt got home later that afternoon, and I was finishing up. I was literally putting the topping on the dinner when all of a sudden I just felt like I was going unconscious. I knew I was going to pass out. So I turned around to face my husband, and I said, I'm going to pass out. And I started walking towards him, and I said, I need you to catch me. Now I think to myself, yeah, I should have just laid down, because the whole point of me telling him to catch me was so that I didn't hit the floor. So I should have laid down. But who really often thinks logically like that when their mind is about to go out anyway? I like to think that I think like that, but clearly I don't. So I started walking towards him, told him I needed him to catch me, and he didn't quite believe me, actually. He said that he thought that I was kind of joking around. And so I took quite a few steps, and then I passed out. And according to him, I actually made several more steps, which of course were very wobbly, because by that point I was unconscious. So I had made it from the kitchen to the living room, and then I fell against the arm of our couch and hit like on my chest against the couch, and then I landed on my knees, and then he caught me the rest of the way. So he said that I didn't hit my head or my stomach, which I could feel where I had hit myself on the couch and on the floor. So like I felt the blunt force pain in my chest, which went away after a minute, and then I got rug burn actually from landing on my knees. I guess I landed on my knees pretty hard because they're actually bruised too, and that's weird to me that I fell so hard that I actually bruised my knees. But dead weight. I guess that's why. So he caught me, and the next thing I know is I hear him asking me, am I okay? What's going on? And my immediate question to him was, did I have a heart attack? And I know that sounds so funny, but I genuinely like wondered that because I had already been having chest pain. And he said, no, you passed out. And I quickly, realized that of course I didn't have a heart attack. All I did was pass out. And so I asked him like how long I was out, and he said just a quick second. Like I passed out, walked a few steps, fell, and then once he caught me, he started talking to me, and that's when I woke up, is because I heard him speaking to me. So I laid there for a minute. I don't know if you've ever passed out before. This is my second time passing out. The last time I passed out, I was a teenager. So it was quite a while ago, several years ago. So it had been a while since I'd passed out, but if you have ever passed out, you know that you sweat from it, your hearing goes out for a second, and so I could feel my hearing slowly coming back in, because as he was talking to me, it sounded like I had like headphones on my ears, and like I was slowly pulling them off, and then clarity came back to my hearing. I wasn't dizzy, I wasn't nauseous, but I was concerned because I'm pregnant, of course, and I wanted to make sure that the baby was okay. So after I was able to stand myself back up, I went and sat on a chair, started drinking some water, and called the on-call doctor, because this was about 6 o'clock in the evening after this had all happened. So the office was closed. Called the on-call doctor. She was busy at the time, so I was told to just wait for her to call. And I said, okay, that's fine, but I have a 45-minute drive to the hospital, so I'm going to go ahead and head on up. So Matthew and I took Kyle over to my in-laws, his parents' house, and then we headed up to the hospital where I go. And we got all the way to the hospital, 45 minutes away, before the on-call doctor returned my call back. And basically she said that they're not going to monitor me because for some reason they don't monitor people who are not at least 24 weeks pregnant. I don't know why. My hospital beforehand would have monitored me no problem. So I think that's really weird, kind of annoying, whatever. So I did not go into labor and delivery so that they could monitor me or the baby, but I asked her, should I go to the ER? And she said, based on what I'm hearing from our conversation, you are not having a hard time breathing. You're able to speak in complete, clear sentences. She asked if I was having heart palpitations. I said no. She asked if I felt like I was short of breath, and I said no. I wasn't dizzy. I was still having some of that very minor chest pain, but it was starting to go away. And she said, well, you know what? It sounds to me like you're okay to self-monitor. She said if you start getting dizzy, you start having heart palpitations, or you're having a hard time breathing, then definitely go ahead and go see the ER. And she said if the pain gets more intense and starts radiating, yeah, you really do want to go to the ER. But she said since you seem to not be in acute distress, you should be fine to go home and self-monitor. So even though we were already at the hospital and we had driven up there, it took us 45 minutes to get there, we decided not to go into the ER. We stopped and got Matthew some dinner because he didn't have time to eat. He had literally gotten home, and it took me probably about another 30 minutes to finish cooking, and then while I was getting ready to plate our food, I passed out. So the poor guy had no food. So we stopped and got him some food. I had eaten some on the way up there because I wanted to get some protein. And by the time we were on our way home, I had very little, if any, chest pain. So pretty much by the end of the evening, I was not having any more chest pain. So we got home, went and picked up Kyle from Matt's parents' house, and then pretty much went straight to bed after that because it was about Kyle's bedtime. Matt was tired because he had basically driven right back to work. The hospital is not far from where he works, and so it was a long day for him, having to make that drive pretty much 4 times in one day and then go make it again 10 hours later. So he didn't complain one bit, but I felt terrible for him. And so we went to bed early, which ended up making that night very long. We both woke up around 2 o'clock and laid awake for about 40 minutes to an hour because we both were like, okay, this night's kind of long, is it time to wake up yet? So I pretty much held on to him that whole night, or slept with my body right next to him, and I've been pretty clingy to him ever since then. And I really haven't spent any time alone just because I'm nervous, and I've developed quite a bit of anxiety since I had our first son, Kyle, and having preeclampsia with him. That scared me so much that I had quite a bit of postpartum anxiety. And I had been working on that a lot, and trying to work on myself being a more calm person, even in the midst of some, scary things. So I'd say that I've done okay with not being too fearful, and having peace, but I still don't want to be alone right now. I'm still very clingy to Matt. I hung out with his parents all day yesterday while he was at work, and I worked from home yesterday actually, so I didn't even go to work, but I did go today. And then as soon as I got home, I picked Kyle up, and then I came over to my parents' house, and I've been with them all day, and Matt's home tomorrow, and so I'll be able to spend all day with him. So I'm just ready to put this behind me. The thought of it is just, I don't like thinking about it. I want to move on from it and hope that it doesn't happen again. So yeah, that was my 18th week of pregnancy. I hope that none of you have to experience that while you're pregnant. It is scary. I will say that I have felt the baby move many times. He is probably doing a-okay because he moves around plenty. In fact, lately he's been enjoying kicking towards my back, and down into my bladder. So I think he's doing good. If I didn't feel him move since that time, I would have definitely called and told them to monitor me, or I would have gone to another hospital, because I do feel him move on a regular basis at this point that if I didn't feel him moving, then I would be concerned enough to want to go be monitored and make sure that he was doing okay. But since he's moving plenty and kicking even stronger than he was just last week, I think he's doing okay. So that's it. I just wanted to share that with you guys, but I'm glad to get it over with and move on from it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.